Hi, my name is Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and motivational speaker. It's review day! Today I'm going to review the Merrell Moab Ventilators. Are these the best light hiker boots for people with wide feet? Let's find out. Merrell Moab Ventilator boots, the best light hiker boots, and not only that, but the best light hiker boots for people with wide feet. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm a polar explorer, professional adventurer, and traveler, and I've hiked literally thousands of miles. I think I've gone through maybe 10 pairs of these over the years, and I have to tell you, I totally love these things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why I love them and why you might consider them as your next hiking boot. But before I do that, if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment, scrolling down and hitting the subscribe button in the lower right hand corner of the video, or in the little subscribe button just below if you expanded. That helps keep my channel going and costs you nothing. Just click subscribe, you won't get a ton of emails, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. So why do I think the Merrell Moab Ventilators are the best light hiker out there? Well, let's talk about that for a minute. So I'm just going to hold one boot here, and you'll see that these have this suede style leather on them. Excuse me, my voice is a little cracky all of a sudden. Nothing like a cup of tea. So one of the nice advantages about these boots is they are extremely light. And I mean, when I put them on, compared to my other I call them skull crusher boots when I'm hiking around. I mean, I've got a pair of boots that weigh, each boot is 5 pounds, my 8,000 meter boots. So I mean, they're pretty extreme. These things are super light. So I'm going to turn on the scale, one moment. Let's turn on the scale here and see what we have. All right, so I'm going to weigh one boot and then lock it here. And I'm going to show you that one boot weighs 1 pound 4 ounces. Now, compare that to, say, my Keen hikers, which are waterproof, and they have a certain place in my repertoire. Let me clear that, and I'll weigh the Keens. All right, the Keens weigh 1.8 ounces. Now you might say, hey, it's only 4 ounces, what's the big deal? But that's a quarter pound, and a quarter pound is actually majorly significant. How significant is a quarter pound on your feet? Consider this. When I did my expedition across Antarctica to the South Pole solo, I cut out a quarter pound and that of tags and miscellaneous junk, and that literally translated to a half day's worth of food, fuel, and travel time for me. Over a long haul, say if you're going to do the Appalachian Trail, the Continental Divide, the Arizona Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, anything like that, weight is everything, because there's a, I can't pronounce it in Spanish, but it translates to, in English, even a straw weighs heavy on a long journey. So a 1 pound 4 ounce boot is actually incredibly light. Now, one of the things about these boots is they are not waterproof. Now, you might say, oh, that's horrible. I really need waterproof boots. Well, okay. So Keen, which I love and I wear too in wet conditions, versus my Merrell, which are not for super wet conditions. The thing about fully waterproof boots is theoretically they have Gore-Tex liners in them, but they make your feet sweat before they start steaming out, and it keeps the water out. These guys keep your feet extremely dry. I just can't remember any time in my Merrell Moab Ventilators where I had ultra sweaty feet. Yes, I was in the Golden Trout Wilderness, I was marching around and having a good time, and my feet were a little moist, but nothing like I get with my Keen boots. Now, I absolutely love my Keen boots, but if I have the opportunity to use a far more breathable boot, like these Merrell Ventilator or Moab Ventilators, they're a much better choice. And because One of the things about letting your feet get wet, especially from sweat, is that causes blisters. I mean, yes, you can have a super sock system. I'll check out my other videos on equipment. I talk about the right sock. I talk about the Smart Wool sock, and they're incredible. But if your feet are completely sweaty, you're already fighting an uphill battle. So these are very nice. Now you'll see here that they use a traditional lacing system, but this boot is almost completely a mesh nylon fabric, which is super nice because it keeps your feet dry and comfortable. When I put these on, it is just like putting on a heavy tennis shoe for me. I mean, I slip them on, I'm like, we are at home. I mean, I did the Teton Crest Trail in 16 hours on these things, from starting from Granite Lake or Granite Canyon all the way across to String Lake, and it was an incredible time. These served me well. One of the disadvantages with a super breathable mesh, however, is that if you're on dusty trails, and most trails are dusty by July and August, is that dust will percolate through the fabric. And that means your feet are going to get dirty. So when you have very dirty feet, just subtly with that fine dust, you can also have the possibility of developing blisters. Now, are you saying, Aaron, I'm just toast and that's just the way it is? In a way, yes. However, it is super easy to stop. Like every time I stop to make water, once every 75 minutes as I'm hiking along. And I've used these with a backpack that's weighed 30 pounds, no problem, which would be extremely heavy for me. Normally my base weight's like 9 or 10 pounds when I'm not filming, so these work very well with a decently heavy load. But I just stop, and every half day I wash my feet off when I can and dry them out and air out the boots and pull out the boot liner and the footbed liner here, no problem there. Hey, check it out. And so that's good. The only failure I've ever had in 10 pairs of these boots is this little eyelet did tear out on one pair of boots, and that was kind of a bummer. So I've yet to ever have that happen again. And when I was just cranking on the laces, they had seen probably 400 miles, so I mean, they had got their mileage, and I wasn't completely shut down. I've never had the soles delaminate. I've never had the boots tear apart, unlike other boots I've owned. So this has been really, really nice. Now you'll notice the stitching design is very much like a tennis shoe. So instead of glued, the material is actually all stitched together, so it makes it much easier not to have a failure. I totally love my Keen waterproof boots, but because this rubber here is glued to the leather instead of sewn to the leather because of the thickness, I do get separation, and that's why I do put that glue there. Is that to say the boots are bad? No, not necessarily. Now if you look at the bottom of the tread here, you'll notice it's a very nice open tread design, and you can see these boots are pretty well worn. I'm probably got maybe 200 more miles on the heel here and then the toe, but that's about it, and I'll need to swap these guys out. But the huge thing, if you have wide feet, you know how hard it is to find boots and shoes. It's like a real pain. However, if you look in this little taggy here, let's see if it'll focus. I wear that size 11, and that little W there, boo, yeah, baby. These come in wide. So also, if you're sensitive to that cross piece on your foot, I'll tilt this down and I'll show you here. Let me kick off my one shoe. If you're sensitive to this zone on your foot bothering you when you put this on with the wide, it just feels like no problem, no pressure. I utterly love these boots, and it's nice they only have, being a light hiker, they only have one stud here instead of two, so you don't have to go too crazy. I do also like to double knot the laces no matter what, because every lace I've ever had in my life always seems to come undone. I also walk with these guys very loose. You don't want to over crank them, but you'll notice I am actually wearing a pretty sizable boot. It's size 11. I wear a 10.5, but I love to have at least a thumb width so that I don't have any problems. But the gap here, my foot moves around very well, so I cannot recommend that enough. Let me flip the camera back up here. Boom, done. All right, I'll turn that back in. So the Merrell Moab ventilators, I cannot recommend them enough. If you have wide feet, you're looking for hikers that protect your ankles, because as you're walking along, you might step and nick your ankle there. I don't do that. I have no problem with that. So that is a nice advantage. I used to hike in tennis shoes all the time, but the bottom of my feet just hurt no matter what I did. So I upgraded to these, and I've never looked back. My name is Aaron Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and motivational speaker. Please like and comment on my video. Subscribe to my channel. Just hit the subscribe button and that supports me. And also, please visit my website at www.ncxped.com. Thank you very much for watching.